Have you ever felt like you were invisible? Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough?
He is one boy who defies the odds.
And I look at motivating, inspiring as a duty.
The only thing that you can attract are the qualities that you possess.
I don't have bigger muscles than you, I'm not taller than you. I can't fight you, you will win. But when it comes to my mindset, most of you are handicapped and I'm the able-bodied.
Nick, Santonastasso, bro. I'm pumped. I'm ready, dude. It's been a great 3 days together.
Time's been flying. I don't know.
Dude, it's been nuts.
Yeah.
It's been exciting, man. Dude, I love you're a man of like so many layers. And I feel like every day I'm like, dude, I didn't even know that about you. It's exciting, dude. You've had a great life.
Thank you. Yeah, try to fit a lot in this short period of time.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going deep right away, but even at 27, like I'm constantly thinking about how we're going to expire. And I don't think a lot of human beings really think about that a lot, especially if you live in a place like America, you know, like it's very cushiony and soft and you don't really think about your immortality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your mortality. And so even at 27, death is a reminder for me to execute swiftly and to figure out what I want to do and go after that. So I'm trying to build this great book of life before I go because I don't know when it's going to happen.
Dude, one thing I really enjoy getting to know you. 27 years old, I'm 35, and how much effort you put into learning and being mentored and your own personal growth. Like it shows in the way you communicate, the way you listen, the way you, I mean, just it's incredible, man. Exciting.
Thank you.
Dude, tell us a story. Let's back up to the beginning and your career. It was you failed pretty quickly out of leaving the home. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, everything. So I'll back up all the way for those that don't know me. I was born like this, so I wasn't a shark or anything, you know, like we can go give some transformation information, but if I don't let you know what I got going on here, they're going to be confused, right? So I was born like this, and I started in this world personal development business when I was roughly 20, 21 years old. Mm-hmm. And I came from a family where, you know, still both my parents work a 9 to 5, nothing wrong with that. That's just all I was exposed to. And at that time I was pursuing bodybuilding. I wanted to become a bodybuilder. And the reason why I was actually bodybuilding is because the inner child in me never felt like enough. And so I always wanted to like prove my worth. And even now, if you look at all the things that I've built, I always tell people it's like most of my success came from me trying to bury that inner child and just build an empire around him. So, you know, like, am I enough? Am I lovable? Is this good enough? And, you know, that's a specific season of my life right now. But I was pursuing bodybuilding, and I got to the opportunity to move to Tampa to do more bodybuilding. It was a better environment. I'm from New Jersey, and there wasn't much going on there. And so I moved to Florida, and I'm a big believer in moments of being guided, whether it's your creator, you're at the right place at the right time. And one of my mutual friends said, hey, you should come to this mastermind. There's a couple people there. You'll never know who you meet. And so I'm like, great. So I go to this mastermind, and everybody's sharing their story and sharing their lofty goals. And they're like, what's going on with you? You know, like, what is this package you got going on? And I started to share my story. And a guy to the left of me that I'd never met was like, you got a story, man. Like, you're going to be on stage with Tony Robbins one day. And I'm like, who is Tony Robbins? Like, I don't know anything, right? I don't know anything about business. I don't know anything about personal development. And that was the moment in the chapter where everything changed for me, where someone saw the gift in me that I didn't see myself, but someone believed in me about a vision that I had no idea that was going to happen. And so from there, you met Ratmir, who he's like low key, so he's like in the background. We met and we started rolling on this journey of building. It was at the time it was a speaking company, and so it was like, what is a speaker? How do they get booked? How do you become a good speaker? And all of that different type of stuff. So that was 21. I was 21, and that's when we started entrepreneurship journey. We can dive into anywhere, but I think that the big lesson, there's a lot of little nuggets in there, but the big lesson is like you only know what you know. And be compassionate about yourself about that, right? It's like you only know what you know, and you only know what people taught you. And so like we're doing the best we can with what was trickled down to us. And so I'm a firm believer, like the most dangerous information is the information that you don't know. And I think oftentimes, as a little kid, like if you're that little kid who loves to ask questions and one day your dad's like, yo, like, shut up, stop asking questions. Maybe your curiosity died as a little kid. And so maybe it's time for us to like start being more curious and go find those answers. Because the only way you get the answers is you got to go seek and ask questions.
So 2 pivotal moments here. Number 1 was you're the big dreamer. You're the vision guy. You have all these, and you found your operations guy, really. I mean, Ratmir is detailed. He keeps the calendar. I mean, we were talking funnels the other day, and I mean, this guy knows his junk, right? But then 2, you just fell into a whole nother purpose and mission and way to find success as well.
Yeah. So that's funny about Ratmir. I would say that the detailed and the funnel stuff was like an acquired skill. 'Cause we were forced.
He didn't start like that.
Right? No, he didn't start like that. I look at Ratmir as like, I told you, like wisdom. Like he can see big picture, but he also needs like some integrators to help us integrate. And I'm, it's a joke, but I'm like the clapping monkey on stage, like I'm the guy that's like out there in the face, right?
Yeah.
And so initially when we started the company, I was just a professional storyteller, right? And back then, no one knew who I was. I had all these different identities before: prankster, bodybuilder, wrestler. Like people knew me from all different walks of life because I'm born like this, and I was doing crazy things. But when I got into the personal development and the speaking world, no one knew who I was. My calendar wasn't booked, and I was just speaking for free to get my reps in. And I always tell my students, and I always tell people that I'm coaching, the only difference between you and the people that you look up to, the people that you want to be, is they probably failed faster or they failed more often than you did, and time and repetition, right? Is like the only reason why I'm a phenomenal or an outstanding communicator is because I have reps, right? I'm very intentional, but I get the reps. Everything's a muscle. With a muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I think like there's a side where like you have God-given gifts or your gifts that whatever you believe in gave you, but there's also that like repetition in that muscle. And so I was getting my reps in of speaking by getting on podcasts and getting on stages for free and speaking in middle schools and high schools. Like when we started, Rapper was like, yo, wherever you can open up your mouth and start sharing your story, like we're going to do it. And he would book me on different podcasts, all this different type of stuff. But we did it a little unorthodox because I didn't know what my talk was. I didn't really know what my signature story was or all the things. And so basically, like, we have an ongoing, like, inside joke. Is like, even in the biggest stadiums, I'll be backstage with Ratmir, and he'll be like, I'll go up to him and be like, hey, you have any advice? Because I used to ask him when I was, younger. Hey, you have any advice? He's like, just share your story, bro. And so I got started by just sharing my story. And every single interview, just like this, every single podcast, every single stage gave me an opportunity to refine my message. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. And the analogy that I like to give is like a speaker is like a comedian. So you look at Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's on these stadiums, he's selling out these tours, but he tested all his jokes out in a dive bar.
That's right.
This is good, that's not good. They laughed at this, they didn't laugh at that. And so podcasts, Instagram Lives, Facebook, all these little stages, start practicing your bits, your stories, until you get to a point when you have the opportunity to get on a big stage, you don't flop, right? So it was a lot of repetition for me, and going out there and just sharing my story and refining it. But like you said, we've dumped a ton of the revenue that we've made into coaching and mentorship.
There's a lot of things there.
There's a lot there. Sorry.
Holy cow. All right. So one of the things there that I really like is that I think a lot of time as business owners, we try to hit those big whales. Well, I'm the high ticket, like right off the bat. They want to work with the big clients, the big high ticket, all this big stuff. And same thing in your career, right? To start small. Like you don't want to start big. Like F it up with someone with a $200 budget or a $300 budget, or that's not even paying you to be there. The reps are what matters, right? And all of these big players, I mean, I like the analogy of like the mountain. If you climb a steep mountain, when you fall, you're going to fall a long ways, right? But if it's more like a hill, you still get the same height you want to go. When you do fall, you're going to fall a couple feet, maybe a couple meters, right? And you can jump back up and keep rolling, right? And have you ever spoken? What's the fewest amount of people you've ever spoken in front of?
Yeah, so we've had a private conversation, and it was a time where I was living in Tampa. That's where we started the company, and I got picked up by an event like 3 days before it was going on. And I wasn't on the main stage. I was in what we call breakout rooms. So y'all know, like, if you go to a seminar, there's the main stage and then there's breakout rooms. And they were like, yo, you got a breakout room? I'm like, this is amazing. I'm the best, like, just so fired up. And we got, like, merchandise. I just got merchandise made, so I was going to have shirts there. And we had someone there ready to sell the shirts for us. And it was going to be this big thing. And I show up to the event. I show up to the breakout room, and we're there before setting up. And I'm like, there's like 60 to 80 seats. Like, this is crazy. Like, these people came for me. And when it was time for me to hit the stage in the audience, there was 4 people there. And they were all spread out. It was a little awkward, all spread out in different things. You had a similar experience, right?
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
There was all different people all over. And I went into this, like, unresourceful state, like this, like, ego, like, what do you mean there's 4 people? This is so stupid. Why have I been here? Waste of time. And just, like, totally, like, ruin the moment for myself. But what I didn't realize is they didn't know it, but I ruined the moment for the people that were in the audience, because there was no way that I served to the best of my ability in that state, in that emotional state. And so I probably served in a way of like, just like, let's get this over with. Let's get this done. My ego was probably, massive and was hurt. I felt insecure, all the things that come up. And I remember afterwards reflecting back on that moment and feeling disgusted with myself. Like, how dare you? Like, who do you think you are, kind of thing. And I promised myself in that moment after reflection that I would never be that man again, regardless of how many people are in the room. I don't care if it's one person, even if they don't want to be there, right? But I don't care if it's one person or 15,000 people in a stadium with Tony Robbins, that I'm going to serve to the best of my ability, because they're giving me their 2 most valuable assets. They're giving me their time and their energy. They're giving me their life for a whole hour. Like, how dare you take that for granted? And so that moment was massively impactful for me, because it taught me a lot. But also, now I'm good. If I show up to a room with one person, I'm like, yo, let's go. We're going to play full out. Like, similar to your story that maybe you'll tell on another time.
It's too sensitive to me right now, man. I can't. My ego's too big.
Yeah. So that was the moment for me. And for those that are listening as well, like, when I talk about stages and refer to stages, like, we don't need to talk about arenas. Like I mentioned, it's like your phone is a stage that you're not leveraging. Your Facebook, your Instagram, all the people that are following you. And oftentimes people don't, they stop posting content because I only got 5 likes. Yo, that's 5 human beings. They're like, I don't go Instagram live because only 3 people show up. I'm like, yo, that's 3 people. And so don't underestimate what that could do for someone. Like, if you're sharing your story and that one person's there, you may save their life. You don't know if they're going home and going to take their life, or they're having thoughts. And so the way that I share with my students is like, every time that you don't share your story, it's selfish of you, because there's someone out there suffering because they haven't met you yet.
I like it. And just for the record, those are listening, I spoke for 3 people the other day. But we got them in a round circle, baby. We brought it home. It was amazing, and but it was humbling. It's really, dude. Failure is tough, and we talk about failure. It's easy to talk. Oh yeah, failing forward, failing is easy. ROI on failure, all this, but it's hard in the real world. I mean, it's really, really hard, and it's harder the bigger we get. The bigger we get, it's really tough. So, all right, so we're speaking. Now, I really like this, and we're going to fast forward here a little bit, but we're talking about how your business model started off and what you were offering, and then how it's transitioned over the past. And I think this is really important, because the ultimate goal kind of stayed the same, right? Serving people, helping people, all these different things, utilizing your story to impact others, but you started listening to your audience in a completely different way, which shifted the whole outlook. So let's talk about your offer a year ago, what it looked like, what you were doing, and then that transformation.
Yeah. So it was a great way that you put it. It's like the intention and the mission stayed the same, but the vehicle shifted, right? And so prior to COVID, the vehicle was just stages and book sales, right? So I didn't have any back-end offers. By the way, ego again, like business partner would be like, hey, like we need to learn from stage. I'm like, no, I'm just a professional storyteller. Hey, we need to create products. No, like I'm just this. And it was out of fear, it was out of insecurity, it was out of feeling like I'm not enough. I don't know that yet, right? So before COVID, professional storyteller. 2 ways that my business model was making income was speaking fees and selling books, right? And I learned very early on that that wasn't scalable, and I can't clone Nick, and so Nick only gets paid when he shows up, which is not a fantastic business model. And so right before COVID hit, I was blowing up. I was doing tours in China. I was touring with Tony. I did a bunch of international gigs with Tony. And we were like, okay, well, let's move the company from Florida to Vegas. Because if we can stay in Vegas and build relationships with all the meeting planners, maybe we can just do all our business in Vegas. There's so many conferences we don't have to leave. So like, this is a great idea.
Genius.
Genius, right? Thank you. And so we moved to Vegas in February of 2020.
It's a great timing.
Yeah, great. And I did one speaking engagement, and then 2 weeks later, all of it broke loose. Yeah, I don't know what happened, right? And they're like, oh, 2 weeks, and I'm like, okay, great. And all of a sudden, like, all of these lists of bookings, they were like pulled out. So like we literally saw hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts go on. And to be fully transparent, I wasn't prepared for hundreds of thousands of dollars to be gone. It's not like I had this massive goose egg, set up aside. And so like it was bad. And we literally got saved by one of the disaster loans, or I was going under, right? That's how like so close it was. And there's this phase of like fear, which I think all of us, it's okay to experience fear, but there was 2 types of people during that moment. The first person was like, I'm going to wait until the world goes back to normal. And those people got crushed, right? Those businesses got crushed. They didn't innovate. They stayed stagnant. You saw it. A lot of people got crushed.
Yeah.
And then there was another people that were like, I'm going to innovate, but also what we did was like, I'm going to see what other people in my industry are doing who are excelling, who are growing, because there was people that were getting crushed and there was people that were
doing really well,
blowing up. And so it's like, how does that happen? And so for us, we started studying all the big people in personal development, and I saw they were going to virtual events. They were doing some stuff virtual. And so 2 things had happened. It's like one thing is like, okay, we need a new business model. And the second thing is we need some sort of offer for people to go deeper with us. Now looking back at that, there's only so much information and transformation that could happen within a podcast or a keynote. The true transformation happens when you give them an opportunity to go deeper with you. So just think about that. For the 3-4 years that I was speaking, not giving anyone anything, I was doing myself and the people in the audience a disservice because they loved Nick, but I was like, that's the end of the journey. Right? So you always want to have something that allows people to go deeper with you. And so this is where we go into we were forced to learn digital marketing. And what was pretty interesting is Ratmir and I had to write out all of our stories. Digital marketing is too hard. It takes too much time. We're not email marketers. Like, we don't know that stuff. Who the heck are we to try to learn that stuff? We had to write all that story, all that tape out and rewrite it and have it like on the wall. Of course we can learn digital marketing. This is a great way to serve our clients. If we learn this, like, we'll never run out of impact and income. Like, we had to retrain all of our belief system about this because we were scared and we needed some reinforcement. And so we started diving into the digital marketing and offer creation. And I'll fast forward this, but we created a bunch of offers that flopped. And so the first idea that we got was like, all right, I'm going to save the kids. The kids are getting crushed. They're not going to school. Suicide rates, depression's going up. I'm going to create a kids program. So my company was called Victorious, so-called Victorious. I was like, all right, we'll create Junior Victorious for the kids. I create this kid program and realize that kids don't have credit cards. So I can't talk to the kids. I got to market to the parents. I got to sell the parents. And when I sell the parents got to sell the kids to do the work. Not good, right? So offer flops, right? And I'm sure for those that are listening, like, you've had this really amazing idea, you put it out there, and then crickets, right?
Yeah.
So that flops. And then my second offer, I was like, okay, I'm going to create like an inner circle. And the inner circle is where I'm going to teach. I don't know what I'm going to teach you, but I'm going to teach you every single week on Zoom live for a whole entire year, and it's $500. And so I launched this, thinking no one would want to listen to me. Like, all these beliefs. Who's going to listen to me? I don't have anything to give people. I'm just a motivational speaker. All the beliefs that come into play. And like six people signed up. And I had hundreds of thousands of followers. And I got like 6 people to sign up. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so we were onto something. I think one of the greatest things in business that we look for is just proof of concept. If I can do it once, I can do it over and over again. If I can close one deal, I can do it again. If one person comes to the event, I just need to get more eyes on the event, and multiple people come to the event. And so I started this inner circle. But there's a lot of nuances there. The price or the investment that I created for my inner circle was a reflection of my self-worth. I only thought I was worth $500 for the year. Does that make sense? I think sometimes people are scared, or business owners are scared to maybe up their price because it's like, I don't know if I'm worth that. I don't know if the product's worth that. Right? And so I just wanted to make that point, is like, that was a reflection of what I thought I was worth. And so I created that program and then started growing this inner circle. And I was literally teaching. I had my office. It was my closet, right? I don't wear shoes. Like I only wear like shirts and stuff. And so I was able to like have this other place to put my clothes. And I created this office inside my house. We're during COVID. And my students would be like, "Are you in your closet?" I'm like,
Yeah.
No. It's a really cool office, But that's just how I did it. And so just to fast forward, I created a kids program. I created an inner circle program. I created high-level mindset programs as we moved on. And now at this stage, I have a value ladder of speaking and how to teach people how to become transformational speakers. So basically, I help you build your brand, your business, and your legacy through communication and stages. And that all came about by people asking. And I want to highlight you. One of the greatest things that you said during this trip that I like really value is, you're like, I've done it, so of course I can turn around and teach with certainty and help people get the results. And oftentimes in the space, you have a lot of coaches coaching, but don't have the specific result that they're talking about, or don't have a real business. And so for the majority of my career, I was teaching psychology, but it was a worthy opponent to package and position it. I have a mindset, I can give it to you. But when I started crushing stages and speaking in a transformational way and making offers and selling from stage, and people will come up to me like, "Can you teach me that?" I was like, "Oh no. No, imposter syndrome. I don't do that. That's not for me. I'm not good enough." And then enough people asked where I was like, okay, there's something here. And so we turned around and revamped our whole entire business model to the point where we took our high-level psychology program, made it lower tier, because the people that need psychology the most, they may not be able to afford thousands of dollars. So let's make it accessible for these people, and then start targeting established entrepreneurs who are powerful, but when they open their mouth, they're not so powerful, and working with those people. And so that's my offers now. We have, mentorships, masterminds, one-on-one coaching. I know that was a really long answer. Sorry.
No, it's perfect.
But this was all iteration. I think when you look at the greatest entrepreneurs and the greatest business owners, is what you currently see is like program 500 or, version 500, because they're constantly reiterating, and they're constantly surveying their people and identifying their needs and packaging and positioning that way. But I'll end off on this with this encompassing story. Is one of the greatest things that I've done to make sure that my clients had massive success and my products were successful is, before I created things based off what I thought people need, I go ask my people. So before I even create a speaking program, I'm going to get on a call with a bunch of people that are becoming speakers and saying, "What are you struggling with? What are your problems? What would be a home run for you?" And I would identify all their needs, all their blind spots, and then I'd create something. And that was one of the greatest things that I've been able to do. Listen, my friends, we think we're in the business of transformation. We are, but at the core, we're in the business of data. The more data you can collect, the more transformation you can get people. Because now you know all that's going on in the mind.
100%.
Sorry, that's a long answer.
No, it's great. It's great. How do you, I think a lot of us, especially as we're struggling, we're trying to grow our business, we're struggling. And I'm always looking at the question of, okay, do I double down? It's just consistency, it's time, it's energy, it's all the stuff, or pivoting. Right now you pivoted, but there were times when you're doubling down. How do you think people decide when to pivot and when to double down?
It's a great question. I think this is very tough as artists. I think you and I are, probably have a lot of artist tendencies. And sometimes artists will double down on something that is just not working because they want to hold on to their baby. They want to hold on to the painting. They want to hold on to the offer that's really not hitting, right? And so you just want to hold on to that instead of pivoting. So I think there's a reflection where it's like, is this working, and am I fulfilled and passionate about it, right? And if it's not, maybe I need to pivot and find a different vehicle. But that's really hard to let go of that, And so I think it's it's different for everyone, but there's a moment where you kind of analyze and you're like, okay, is this working? Or am I just like running into a brick wall here? Maybe I should pivot and try something else. Mm-hmm. And in moments like that, I always just, to be honest, I don't have the answers. I always ask my people. You know, like I'm not. I've tried to create things based off just my brain, and when I do it, I offer it, and it's just crickets, right? And so when I'm stuck, I go to my people. I believe all of our people have the goal. They have the goal. They have the data, and when we can meet their needs, our needs get met.
Yeah, and I think. Too often we don't ask. I mean, especially you can ask the people, you know, your clients or potential prospects, and even the people around you. And if it's all about how you ask the questions, right? So if Nick, dude, I got 2 ideas. One is thinking about just shifting and just changing my whole business. Like keep the same tone. And the other one is maybe I should just double down. What do you think? And the key is to ask the question where it doesn't seem biased, right? Hey, I'm thinking about quitting. Or should I double down? Well, now you're going to have, but like your friends know. Your friends give a pretty good idea of what you should and shouldn't be doing, right? And your closest people. And it's one thing, you're really good at asking questions and digging into the truth and kind of the root of the stuff. It's good stuff.
That's where the transformation happens, you know, because when we ask questions, our first initial answer is going to be surface level.
That's right.
100%. Guards up, surface level. And so, you know, I even tell our speaking students, it's like, you want to be a transformational speaker, learn how to ask really great questions to lead people to their own breakthroughs. Mm-hmm. The story can be mediocre. Maybe the teaching's even mediocre, but if you come with a powerful question, you're going to rock someone's world. And so that's what we've been doing this whole trip, is asking each other questions and getting to the root cause of things. But you are one question away from a breakthrough.
Yeah. Speaking of roots, what are you committed to doing? What's the big thing you're working at? Or, you know, what's the tombstone read?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I want to throw it back on. I'll answer the question. I want to throw it back on you. JC had me reflect on this. You know, we were sitting by the pool, and what I love about you and why I'm so drawn to you, when we met at a John Maxwell event, I asked about your life, and you're like, yeah, we live in Nicaragua, and I have my lifestyle set up like this, and I run my business. And I'm really present with my kids, and we go to the beach every day. And I'm like, I told my students today, I'm like, when someone has a life and has results that you admire and that you align with, like, ask them questions, like, pick their brain as much as they're going to give you, get in proximity as much as they can. And we were sitting by the pool relaxing, which was like weird, you know, but we relaxed the whole entire day. And I looked at you and I said, I was like, I don't know what I want phase. I've never sat and reflected on exactly what is me. That's what, JC, what is me? That's my rhyme today. Or is like, JC, what is me? Like, what is me phase? And so I would be lying if I was like, hey, JC, this is exactly what my tombstone reads. But what I think, and we mentioned this as well, is I think what you want in life changes as you grow, right? Your priorities and your values change. So I think at this moment, in this season of Nick's life, what's really important to me is creating transformational speakers, because the impact will just trickle and trickle and trickle, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's only one Baby Yoda, me, but if I get other people under me that know how to transform, then that goes on forever. I'll be immortal in a sense. The other thing for me is working on retiring my parents, and so that's really near dear to my heart. That's a pull for me. And not only retiring them, but plugging them into something that keeps their passion going and their fulfillment going. And the other thing is making sure that I don't lose myself in the madness. You know, I think at 27, I'm very obsessed with mission, and I'm very obsessed with money. And I think it could be a long, dark road, you know, if you don't really pull yourself out of it. And so I'm in a very interesting season of like, what does Nick want? What does Nick want to do? How does he want to set up life? What really fires him up? And making sure that I'm not pushing it off to the next year. Like you mentioned, is like, can you be doing that stuff now? And so I'm in a season of exploration. I'm in a season of discovery and rebuilding. And also on the nerdy business side of things is like taking my active income and investing into cash flowing assets, because in particular at this season, I want to get to anywhere from 50 to 100,000 a month cash flow, passive, to then who knows what I'll do there. You're like, what do you want to get there? But yeah, do whatever I want and then build from that place. Yeah. And so So that's where I'm at. And then right now I'm very intentional about my physique goals, you know, staying in shape, especially when I'm on the road. I feel like a lot of the times as successful people, we stop doing the things that got us successful in the first place. And so like if you're feeling lost or off purpose, it's like I'm going to go back to the basics here.
Yeah, I like what you said there. Going back to the basics, the things that got us here, sometimes are the things that get us to the next level as well. Those basic fundamental things, right? And I've been trying to get you to eat dessert and crappy food for 3 days now, and you've been pretty good. I'm impressed.
I've been pretty good.
I'm impressed.
But hey, I'm in Nicaragua, so I gotta dabble in the experience as well. You gotta be balanced.
One last question, or maybe anyways. What's some of the hardest things? So you've come so far, and I think a big driver is your family, is, you know, and a lot of us. But what's the hardest time you had to go through to get where you're at today? That maybe ended up being something good or bad, but what's the hardest thing you had to go through to get where you're at today?
It's a great question. I think a few things come up. I think the first thing is distancing yourself from people that don't serve you.
What do you mean by that?
I think it's very easy to stay handicapped and crippled when you share your goals with closed-minded individuals. And oftentimes the closed-minded individuals happen to be some family and friends that are closest and near dear to you. You know, and that's not a shot at anyone. That's just like some people don't understand the vision, and that can crush you, you know? And so I think a lot of the times, like, you need to love from afar or distance yourself. But what came to my mind is the hardest thing I had to go through. I wish my brother was still around.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a saver, right? So I'm going to save everybody. And so, you know, that's what the first download that I got is like, man, Nick, you changed people's lives, and I couldn't change my brother, you know? And so I think having to go through the death of my brother with an overdose was a big one. And I think another one was having to separate from a business partner that wasn't aligned, or that, you know, paths weren't aligned. So having those really hard conversations to split with someone that was rowing the boat for you with a very long time, but their path went someone else. I think that's another really difficult thing that I had to go through. Have deep, hard conversations with someone and let people go or separate. I think that's a big one. And I think another one is I separated from a really long, intimate relationship because I was so obsessed with mission. And I felt that at this season of my life, I was so obsessed with mission that I was giving that person the crumbs of me. And I felt that just at this season of my life, it was kind of like a it's okay to be alone season, but that sucks, you know, because that person's amazing, phenomenal person, had a phenomenal relationship. It was like a very unique relationship. But I just felt at the season I was in, I was doing them a disservice because I was so obsessed with business. And who knows, I may 10 years from now look back and say, you're such an idiot. I don't know. And that's what I'm in the midst of. You know, I may look back at 50 and be like, this wasn't as important. This mission wasn't as important as you thought it was. But I have this deep-rooted belief that God has put me in this unique vessel to shape the world up and to be this voice. And that comes with sacrifices, you know, in specific seasons of my life. You know, like I'm on the road 67% of the year, you know, like I don't see my parents as much as I should. I don't see my family as much as I should. And it's a massive sacrifice. And I don't know if it's the right sacrifice. I don't know if it's the wrong sacrifice. I'll find out, and maybe I'll get a rude awakening. But at this season of my life, like, I'm just here to be an offering to the world. And that comes with a lot of pressure and a lot of sacrifice.
I see that people, as they really develop in their maturity, they start speaking, as you just said, I don't know if I'm making the right decision, you know? And as the more you grow and the more you learn and the more you screw it up, the more you're aware of, like, I'm going to make what I think is the right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Might not be. And I think it's so crucial. One of the things you're talking about here is, like, the best baseball batter in the world still strikes out sometimes. The best CEO in the world still has down months. The best speaker in the world, the best motivator in the world is sometimes not going to be able to motivate someone, or someone's not going to be motivated by it, right? And so it's so critical that we push through those times and moments and keep rolling, man. Keep rolling.
And I would say, don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss it.
I love
You know, like for a lot of people listening right now, like you are living the thing you once prayed for.
Mm-hmm.
You have the things that you once wished for.
Yeah.
So even me, like every single time that I touch a stage and I hop or walk off a stage, I do it very slowly because one day there ain't gonna be people in the stands waiting for me.
That's right.
So I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah. Nick, you're incredible, man. I've been so honored to have you in my home with my kids and my family the last couple of days. You're doing incredible stuff, and I'm excited at how intentional you are with constantly trying to reinvent the way you think, because you know the impact that you're going to have with everyone else. And so you're very intentional about making sure that what you give and how you inspire is for the good and for the positive and really serves people. So that's exciting, man. I appreciate it. Dude, it's been fun. It's been exciting, dude. And I look forward to whatever's next.
I love it. I want to highlight you before we go. I want to highlight your lifestyle, you know, of the way that you're present with your wife, the way that you're present with your kids, the heart and the soul that goes into your team and how much you care. It shows. And I really love that you're doing amazing things, but you're not really in the rat race. You know, you're not really like tied up into what's going on. You're like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm just in my own world. And it's something that's very admirable. So it's been an honor spending time with your family. Thank you for letting us into your world, into your family. And you are definitely someone that I align with, that I'm going to stay in proximity of and keep learning from. And I'm going to keep chasing, right?
Yeah.
But you check all the boxes when it comes to a mentor. And anyone that has the opportunity to be in proximity to you is blessed. It's a great blessing.
I appreciate you, brother. This is exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Well, thanks, man.
You got it.